ma'am.
Good afternoon. Okay, do you have any questions from the previous classes? Okay, just a while ago, for the rest of you, Beatrice shared her experience of the dream just a while ago, where she was being chased. She and her friends were being chased by the police. And then she says that when she woke up, she could really relate it to what Chittamatra talks about, the dream analogy, right? Not just Chittamatra, but overall the dream analogy, how important it is to wake up, right? So if all of you, including myself, if we have such dreams, I think it's a very good opportunity to relate it to what we're learning. Then our learning becomes more, I would say, more, it'll come to life basically, more experiential, right? Okay, any questions?
Ma'am, in dream, do we have consciousness?
In dream?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you clarify your question? I'm a little, so
Means
basically, uh,
we are conscious in dream or unconscious?
okay, that's a very good question.
Means awareness. We are aware or not? We have consciousness within dream or not?
Okay, so for that, we need to understand the sensory mind, sensory consciousness, and the mental consciousness, right? Okay, so it's a very good question, and I think let me just try and explain a little bit. Okay, so have you all, I mean, we all fall asleep. We all have the experience of how it is to fall asleep. Okay, so going back to the sensory consciousnesses, the five sensory consciousnesses, you all remember, and the sixth, which is mental consciousness, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, so what happens is, okay, so Sangamitra ji asked, is the awareness there when you're dreaming, when you're in sleep? What about the awareness, right? So awareness is, okay, so when you're in a waking state, so mind, as we studied in Buddhist psychology, we categorize mind into different ways. And another way of looking at the mind is gross mind, subtler mind, right? So all these five sensory consciousnesses are gross minds. They're very gross, right? So ear consciousness, the sound that our ears can hear, the ear consciousness perceives the sound, right? So the sound, which is the object, is also a very gross phenomenon. And the ear consciousness, which is apprehending the sound, is also a very gross, right? And okay, so what happens is in your waking state, while you're awake, what happens is we are in a very gross state of mind, right? We're in a very gross state of mind. So our eyes are looking at things, our ears listening to sounds, different sounds. So this happens in your waking state. Okay, so if somebody sleeps for 7 hours, the rest of the, okay, so 17 hours of your waking state, we are living with this gross mind, right? Okay, so when you go off to sleep, what happens? These five sensory consciousnesses, they subside. Do you all agree? When you're sleeping, okay, there are some people who sleep with eyes open. Do you know some people who do that? Have you seen people sleeping with their eyes wide
Yes,
open?
yes, ma'am. Yes, not wide, but a little bit.
Okay,
One of
so
my cousin, actually, even we were surprised by this, but he was not able to say anything because he was sleeping actually.
so what happens is when the eyes are open and the person is sleeping, so if you put an object in front of the eyes, the person who's sleeping, if you say, "Hey, what is this?" The person, okay, so the eyes are open, the eye, okay, we talk about the eye organ, which is functioning, right? So what is missing? We put the object. Okay, so one thing is very important. I don't know. I did mention this in the Buddhist psychology class, but for all of you, if you can note it down again, for an eye consciousness to come into being, okay, so Norzumla is saying, I'm one of the humans to sleep with half eyes open. Okay, so so that's more relatable. Okay, so for any sense consciousness, okay, now when I say sense consciousness, you should all immediately get it what I'm trying to say. One of the five sensory consciousnesses. So when I say any sense consciousness to arise, there has to be three conditions. There are three conditions for a sense consciousness to arise. So when I say sense consciousness, my eye sense consciousness looking at this pen, right? So for my eye sense consciousness to arise, which is looking at this pen, you need three conditions. First, the object, right? Object, which is the pen. Second, sense power. Sense power. This we have done before, but you can note it down again. Second is the sense power. Third is the immediately preceding mind. Immediately preceding mind. This is the third condition for the eye, for the sense power to arise. Okay, have you all noted it down? This is a very important point. So we need three conditions, right? Object, the sense power, and the immediately preceding mind. Okay, so what is the sense power? This also I explained many times in the previous Buddhist psychology class. So sense power is a very, very subtle physical phenomena. Very subtle. It cannot be seen by bare eyes, or for that matter, at the moment, science do not talk about the sense power, which is even science has not been able to. Basically, there's no concept of sense power according to science. Science, what they say is it's just the eye organ that gives the information to the brain, and that is how the brain cognizes an object, right? But this sense power is in Buddhist philosophy or Buddhist psychology, the sense power is a very, very subtle phenomena, subtle physical phenomena, which at the time of death, when we die, this sense power, it takes the form of an imprint. It becomes the mind. It's very subtle. And then when you take birth again, it again takes the form of a very subtle physical phenomena or body. So I sense power, which is okay. So if I'm looking at this pen, blue pen, my I sense consciousness arising. So there are three things needed: the object, the sense power. So my I sense power is there, right? And then immediately preceding mind. So let's say it's 3:25 p.m. right now, so, right? So at 3:25 p.m., I look at this pen. So my mind at 3:24 p.m., right? So the mind, what did I say? The mind abides in time. So the mind continues like this. First moment of the mind, second moment of the mind, third moment of the mind, fourth moment of the mind. So this pen, I look at it at 325. So the mind which was there at 324 has come to 325, right? So that immediately precedes, that continuum, immediately preceding mind is also one of the conditions for the I sense consciousness to arise. Okay, now going back to, let's say, Nurzumla. Nurzumla, she said she sleeps with half eyes open, right? So let's say she can see some. Okay, so I go to Nurzumla when she's sleeping. I put this pen in front of her eyes, right? Can, okay, will she be able to say what it is? Yes. Okay, so are you all there? Okay, if possible, please, if you're comfortable, please keep your videos on so that we can have an interactive session, right? So if you have, okay, so if I go to Nurzumla, if she's sleeping, I put this pen. So pen is what? One of the object. So the object, one condition is fulfilled, right? And her eye sense power, which is there inside her eye organ, right, somewhere, which is a very subtle physical phenomena, it's there. Now what is missing? She cannot perceive the pen while she's sleeping, even though her eyes are half open. She can see the, she's supposed to be able to see the pen, but she's not able to say that this is a pen. There's no arising of eye sense consciousness. Are you all getting it? So
Yeah,
what,
that heart condition.
yeah, so what is that condition which is missing?
Immediately proceeding mind.
Okay, so the immediately preceding mind, okay, so this moment when she perceives the pen, so basically the eye sense consciousness seeing this pen does not arise when she's sleeping. So what I'm trying to say is, when you fall asleep, right, your, even the eye sense power, the power also, there's it's missing, though the physical object is there, but its function is missing, right? So what happens when you all, when we all fall asleep, all these five senses, they shut down. The awareness of the five senses, they shut down, and we go to our mental, the mental consciousness is there, which is why we dream. Do you all agree? So
Yeah, ma'am.
because we have the mental consciousness, we can dream, right? Okay, so even in dream there are two, even while you're sleeping, the mind is again divided into the gross and the subtle, right? Okay, so there's, have you all heard of REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep? There's something called REM sleep, right? So while you're in your sleep, while you're sleeping, there's a phase in your sleep which is called the rapid eye movement sleep, uh, where the mind becomes subtler. Okay, so now you have to remember the gross mind, which is the sensory mind, it shuts down at the time of when you fall asleep, and then you have the mental consciousness, right, which is subtler than the sensory consciousness. Mental consciousness is much subtler. This we must remember. And when you're sleeping, again, there are, within your mental consciousness, there are again two, gross and subtle. So during your REM sleep, your mental consciousness is much subtler than the other times, right? Now, do you see how your mind is going from a very gross state to the subtle state and subtler state? And then at the time of, okay, not death, but there are times when people go into coma, right? Or they become unconscious. So there again, the mind becomes much more subtler. And at the time of death, when we die, the mind becomes very subtle. This is called the clear light mind. And okay, so these are very interesting. These are very interesting concepts. If you are interested to know deeper about these concepts, the subtle and the gross mind, especially at the time of death, there is a book by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. It's called The Advice on Living and Dying. It's available online as well as, so you can read the book, right? It's a very good book. Okay. So the subtlest of the mind at the time of death, it's called the clear light mind. And Sanghamitra asked, what about the awareness, right? So for ordinary people who are not into meditation, who are not into the training, mind training, for ordinary people, there's no awareness of this sensory mind, which subsides at the time of sleep, right? So even during your sleep, you may not be aware. That awareness is not there because we are not trained. But for yogis or anybody who is going through the mental training, right? The mind training, there are specific ways of training. There are people who are aware in their dreams. They meditate in their dream while they're sleeping. In fact, in my own village, we had a very great bodhisattva, Geshe-la, who passed away I think 6 years ago. He used to do the dream yoga. So basically, it's said that he never slept, right? So for ordinary people, we say that he never slept. He never slept for like 30, 40 years. He would always be meditating, you know. But in reality, he would basically his mind during the time when ordinary people are sleeping, he would be meditating, right? So which is why he's considered to be someone who never slept, who did not sleep. But while he was in his 80s, I think very old age, his teacher, the somebody who under whom he took refuge, he advised him to sleep for 3 hours because he was getting very old and weak, right? So there are people who do the dream yoga. So these practitioners who are into such mental training, even in the time of during the time of sleep, they have this awareness. They can do meditation on this very subtle mind. And there is meditation on this clear light mind. The clear light mind is there within us. It's too subtle that we are not able to recognize it. So if you practice this clear light mind, if you do your meditation, so there are practitioners who meditate on this clear light mind every day. So what happens at the time when they're actually facing death? So they know how the mind, it's called the dissolution of the mind. So how the mind goes from very gross to subtle and then subtler. So there are different signs. So when you meditate on that, you have to first study what are the experiences, right? So when you meditate on these experiences daily, so what happens when you actually face death, there you are not confused. There the awareness is very clear. The person knows that, okay, now I'm dying. So my mind is becoming subtler. This orange color, black color. So there are different colors that appear, right? So you can train. Sanghamitra asked, is the awareness there? So ordinary people, no, we do not have, because we are never trained in that manner. But for those who are trained in that manner, we can all train in that manner. But of course, it needs a lot of study and reflection and meditation. So if you train, then yes, awareness is possible.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so that became a very long, lengthy explanation. But these different subtleties of the mind is very important. And you can read the book by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Advice on Living and Dying in Peace. Okay. All right, so that's it, right? So I'll go on to the next topic. Okay, so can anybody tell me where did we leave last time?
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, your last statement was about that Prasangika view is very close to quantum physics.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, that was just something I added in the end. So we were doing assertion on the subjects, right? And we did assertion on the, sorry, the person that we did. Okay, just to go back to what we did, anybody would like to tell me? And the person, what according to Chittamatra school, how do they posit the person? Okay, so there are two types of Chittamatrans, right? Those who follow scriptures and those who follow reasoning. Okay, so for those who follow the scriptures, these Chittamatrans, for them, the person is what? They posit the person to be
So, ma'am, self as Alia Vijnana, which is the storehouse of consciousness.
very nice. Okay, so self or the person, the Chittamatrans following scriptures, they say that the self or the person is the Alya Vigyan or the storehouse of consciousness. It's also called the repository consciousness, right? Okay, so Chittamatrans following reasoning, for them, what is this person or self? How do they posit? Yes.
Uh, they think that the mental consciousness is the self.
Yes, thank you. So for Chittamatrans following reasoning, self is posited to be the mental consciousness, right? So this, okay, so these are just, this you can remember or just note down. Chittamatrans following scriptures, self or the person is the Alaya Vijnana, and Chittamatrans following reasoning, self or person is the mental consciousness. For now, you can just keep this in mind, right? Okay, then going next is the consciousness. So basically, for Chittamatrans, they don't talk much about terms and labels, right? So you can skip that part. So okay, so going to the second point, which is consciousness. Under assertion on parts, sorry, assertion on the subjects, we have person and consciousness and terms and labels. So consciousness, okay. Again, Chittamatrans following scriptures, they talk about 8 types of consciousnesses.
Ma'am, can you repeat Chitramatram following scriptures and reasoning is same?
No, there are 2 kinds. One Chittamatrans who follows only scriptures,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
one Chittamatran who follow reasoning. So
Reasoning is person.
no. Okay, so assertion on the subject has 3 points: person,
Yes.
consciousness, terms and labels. So now we are
Yes.
trying to understand how Chittamatrans understand person to be, or the self. So Chittamatrans, there are 2 kinds: Chittamatrans following scriptures,
Yes, ma'am.
Chittamatrans following
Reasoning.
reasoning. So Chittamatrans following scriptures, they say that this person or the self, they posit it to be the Alya Vijnana.
Mhm.
They say this Alya Vigyan, which is the repository consciousness, is the person or the self.
Mhm.
And Chittamatrans following reasoning, they say it's not the Alya Vigyan, it's the mental consciousness. Okay, as long as you remember this, it's good enough, right? And now going to the second point, which is consciousness. Okay, again, Chittamatran's following scriptures, they say that there are 8 types of consciousnesses. Okay, the first six are anybody?
Ma'am, sense consciousness.
5 sense
Or yeah,
consciousnesses.
5 sense conscious. Sound, smell, taste, touch, and sight.
Uh-huh. Plus,
Plus mind, ma'am.
okay,
Manas
okay,
Vigyan.
so always try to use the term mental consciousness
Okay, mental
rather than
conscious.
just mind. Okay, so okay, so 5 sensory consciousnesses plus the 6th, which is the mental consciousness. These are the 6 consciousnesses which all the other schools accept. But this Chittamatran's following scriptures, they add 2 more to it. 7th is the Alya Vigyan. 7th is the Alya Vigyana. And the 8th is afflictive consciousness. So these, the Chittamatran's following scriptures, they accept 8 types of consciousnesses, 6 consciousnesses that we did, 5 sensory consciousnesses plus mental consciousness plus Alya Vigyana plus afflictive consciousness.
Ma'am, can I say something here?
Yes.
Ma'am, actually, I was reading something.
Mm-hmm.
There is a book by Ben Connolly, Inside Vasubandhu's Yogachar. So,
Mm-hmm.
ma'am, in this book, they were talking about Trimsika.
Mm-hmm.
So, in ma'am Trimsika, there is a translation also. I have the translation by Shenzang. Ma'am, they are talking about 7th is a Manas and 8th is a Alya Vigyana.
Okay, this is set by, this is who's, this is, what did you
Ma'am,
say?
by from Vasubandhu's Yogachar. It is from Xuanzang
Mm-hmm.
translation of Trimsika.
Okay, Manas and Alya Vigyana.
Yeah, Alya is the 8th and Manas is the 7th one.
Okay, and do you have the rest of the 6
Yes,
names of?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
First one is the touch, second is taste, third is smell,
Mm-hmm.
fourth is sound, fifth
Mm-hmm.
is sight, sixth is mind or thought,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and seventh is manas or in bracket consciousness of self.
Okay, so I think here the translation is Manas, right?
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
think what it's the same as afflictive consciousness.
Okay, okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Because what is this afflictive consciousness? By the very term afflictive
Yes,
means something afflicted by ignorance, right?
yes,
Afflicted by
ma'am.
something. So this consciousness, which is called the afflictive consciousness, what it's afflicted by the ignorance of seeing this Alya Vigyan as something substantial.
Okay.
So I think maybe the Sanskrit term is manas.
Yes, ma'am. I think Sanskrit term is manas.
Yes. But then we'll have to check the other translations also. There
Yes.
are lots of different translations. We have to be very clear. Okay. So these are the 8 types of consciousnesses according to Chittamatran's following scriptures, right? So consciousness according to the first group of Chittamatrans. Second group of Chittamatrans, they accept the 6 consciousnesses like all other schools. They do not have anything specific. So for them, the 6 types of consciousnesses is what they accept. Okay, with this, we are done with assertion on the subject, right? Now we're going to assertion on the parts. So we are done with assertion on the objects. Now we are doing the assertion on the parts. and then assertion on the result. Okay. Okay, now anybody who would like to tell me the points under assertion on the paths? Okay, I know this topic is a little technical, but okay, so let's, okay, so when we are studying, let's try to understand what these topics, what are these topics actually talking about, right? So assertion on the paths, I've said this many times, path is a mental path, mental journey. Okay, so what is our reality? That we are in a state of suffering. We are suffering. So we want to go towards happiness, right? So we have to take a path. So we have to understand the nature of the path, or we have to understand this path according to the Chittamatra philosophy, right? So this is what we're trying to do now. So according to Chittamatra philosophy, which believes in something called the Alya Vijnana, right? They believe in the absence of externality. This is the understanding of Chittamatra school. Mind only school. So they only believe in the mind, and everything other than the mind is just an extension of the mind. So this is from the point of view of the yogis, which is why it's called the Yogacara school. Okay, now anybody would like to tell me what are the 3 points that we studied under the assertion on the paths? So we've been applying these topics, the points for each of the schools, right?
Ma'am, may I?
Yes, yes, please.
Ma'am, the object of the path.
Mm-hmm.
Ma'am, second is objects to be abandoned by the path,
Mm-hmm.
and the third one is the nature of the path.
Okay, very nice. So we have these 3 topics: objects of the path, objects to be abandoned by the path, and the nature of the path. All right. Okay, so when we talk about the objects of the path, it's very similar. The common understanding is very similar to what we did in the other schools as well. So objects of the path means what are those things or objects that we need to meditate on, right? Okay. Okay, to be very precise, you can jot it down. The 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths is what all schools meditate on. This we need to remember. 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths. They are the objects of the path that basically all schools, they have to meditate on. Apart from the 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths, what are the other objects of the path according to Chittamatra school? Okay, selflessness of the person and selflessness of the phenomena. Okay. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, Prasangika school, Vaibhashika and Swatantrika school, they only talk about the selflessness of person, right? They don't talk about selflessness of phenomena. Do you all remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, so first 2 schools, the lower schools, they only talk about selflessness of the person. They don't talk about the phenomena. But Chittamatra school and above, they talk about selflessness of person as well as selflessness of phenomena. So according to Chittamatra school, objects of the path, it comprises of the 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths, selflessness of person, and selflessness of phenomena. Okay, okay, so when you say selflessness of person, there are two, gross and subtle. And selflessness of phenomena is subtler than the selflessness of person. This we must remember. Okay, can anyone tell me what are the 5 levels of emptiness or selflessness? Let's go back to what we did earlier. Yes, anybody? Okay, so we did 5 levels of emptiness or selflessness, right? Yes, anyone who remembers?
Same cause and effect relationship.
No, no, no.
Oh. Can I tell you?
Yes, yes.
Selflessness of permanent,
Okay, Beatrice,
unitary.
can we use
Yeah,
emptiness? Now let's use the term
emptiness.
emptiness. Okay,
Okay,
yes.
emptiness of permanent,
Mm-hmm.
unitary, independent self
Yes,
or self.
yes.
Then emptiness of autonomous substantial reality.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness of external reality,
Mm-hmm.
and emptiness of true existence, while not rejecting intrinsic existence,
Yes.
and emptiness of intrinsic existence or independent existence.
Very nice. Thank you, Beatrice. Okay. First is emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self. Emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self. These 5 levels of emptiness or selflessness, they're very, very important. If possible, we must keep them on our fingertips, right? Because if you know these 5 levels of emptiness or selflessness, when you try to study the Tenet system, the philosophy will be very clear to you. Okay, first is the emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self. Second is the emptiness of autonomous substantial reality or autonomous substantial self. Third is emptiness of external reality. Emptiness of external reality. Fourth is emptiness of true existence. Emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic existence.
Ma'am, while not rejecting.
Intrinsic existence. And the last is emptiness of intrinsic existence / independent existence / objective existence. Intrinsic, independent, objective, they mean the same. Okay, now I'm going to ask each one of you to give me these 5 levels. We're going to mug it up in this class. Right? Okay. I hope you all have jotted them down. Okay, I'll just repeat again. Emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self, emptiness of autonomous, substantial reality, emptiness of external reality, emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic existence, and ultimately the last one, emptiness of intrinsic existence or independent existence or objective existence. Okay. The other important thing about these 5 levels of emptiness is the first one is the most gross. And as you come down, as you go down, as you ascend from the top to bottom, the emptiness becomes subtler and subtler. This we must remember. So emptiness of intrinsic existence is the subtlest of the emptiness, which is propounded by the Prasangika school. Okay, so now let me just relate these emptinesses according to the 4 schools, right? The first one, emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self, is rejected by all schools, right? All schools. And this is the gross, according to all schools except Prasangika school. Except Prasangika school, the first one, emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self, it is known as the gross selflessness. According to all other schools except Prasangika, the first one is known as the gross selflessness. The second one, selflessness of or emptiness of autonomous substantial reality, that is the subtle selflessness. According to all schools except Prasangika. For Prasangika, there is no gross subtle. There's just one thing, which is selflessness of autonomous substantial real. Okay, so autonomous selflessness of autonomous substantial real is what is rejected by Vaibhashika school and Swatantrika school, right? Emptiness of external reality is okay. So external reality is rejected by Chittamatra school. So when you say emptiness of external reality, this is the okay. So this is the wisdom according to Chittamatra school. And the next is emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic existence. This is the wisdom according to the Swatantrika Madhyamika school. Remember, Madhyamika are 2 types, Swatantrika Madhyamika and Prasangika Madhyamika. So Swatantrika Madhyamika, they reject true existence, but they don't reject intrinsic existence. And ultimately, Prasangika Madhyamika, they reject even the intrinsic existence, which is the subtlest of the emptinesses. Okay, have you all got the relation between the 5 levels of emptiness plus and the schools, different schools?
Yeah, can you explain again why except Prasangika in the first case or all the cases?
Sorry?
What do you how, can you explain again what do you said about the Prasangika that rejects the gross level?
So basically for Prasangika, for Prasangika, their understanding of the selflessness of person, it's already too subtle. In fact, for Prasangika, selflessness of person and selflessness of phenomena, there's no difference. Both are very subtle.
Okay.
So there's no question of gross and subtle. Basically, their wisdom, the mind seeing the reality according to Prasangika, it's very subtle, very refined.
Okay.
Okay, now the 5 levels of emptiness. Can anyone tell me? Okay, okay. So even if you cannot, I don't expect you to remember them on your fingertips now. I would just like each one of you to just read out the 5 levels one by one. Okay, okay, let's do that quickly because,
Ma'am, may I?
yes.
Selflessness of a permanent, unitary, independent self.
Mm-hmm.
Second is autonomous,
No,
substantial
no.
reality.
Okay, Sangamita, you have to use all the terms together. Selflessness, if you're using selflessness, fine. If you're using emptiness, then stick to emptiness. Emptiness, let's stick to emptiness here. Emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self. Then second, emptiness of, you have to use the term emptiness of, not just, if you say autonomous substantial real, then it becomes just the opposite. Because
Okay.
we're talking about emptiness of it. We're
Okay.
negating.
Emptiness of autonomous substantial reality.
Mhm.
Emptiness of external reality.
Yes,
Emptiness of true existence while not rejecting in existence or independent existence.
intrinsic existence.
Intrinsic existence or independent existence. And the last one is emptiness of intrinsic or independent existence. Both are
Very
the same.
nice. Very nice. Okay. Also objective existence. They mean the same.
Objective existence.
Okay,
Yeah.
quickly, let's do this quickly. Next. Yeah, we all have to do it once. So let's not wait. One by one. Quickly.
Ma'am, may I?
Yes.
Emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness of autonomous, substantial self or reality.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness of external reality.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic existent.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness of intrinsic or independent or objective existence.
Very nice. Thank you. Next.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next. Quickly.
Ma'am, can I?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah. Yes,
Okay.
yes. No, you
Yes,
too.
yes, yes.
Please.
Was on.
First, the 5 levels of emptiness or selflessness. Number one, emptiness of permanent unitary independent self.
Mm-hmm.
Second, emptiness of autonomous substantial reality or self.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness of external reality.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic existence. And five, emptiness of intrinsic or independent or objective existence.
Very nice. Thank you. Okay. Beatrice.
Okay. The 5 level of emptiness: emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self, emptiness of autonomous, substantial reality or self, emptiness of external reality, emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic existence,
Mm-hmm.
and emptiness of intrinsic, objective, independent existence.
Okay. Very nice. Thank you. Next. Yes. Anybody? Yes. We all have to do it once. So jump in. One of you.
Five levels of emptiness.
Yes. Yes. Allah.
5 levels of emptiness are emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self,
Mm-hmm.
emptiness of autonomous, substantial reality or self,
Mm-hmm.
emptiness of external reality, emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic existence.
Yes.
And the last one is emptiness of intrinsic existence or independent or objective existence.
Very nice. Thank you. Okay. Next.
Ma'am, may I? Rita?
Yes. Yes.
Ma'am, first is emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness of autonomous, substantial self or reality.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness of external reality. Emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic existence.
Mm-hmm.
Last is emptiness of, ma'am, I'm not able to write it down properly. The
Mm-hmm.
fifth one, please, can you repeat once again?
Emptiness of intrinsic existence
Okay.
slash
Okay.
INTRIN
Yeah, intrinsic existence.
slash independent existence slash objective existence. So
Okay.
intrinsic, independent, objective, they mean the same.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Very nice.
Thank you,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you. Okay, next. Yes, anybody who's not said so far. I mean,
Yes, ma'am.
yes.
5 levels of selflessness or emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness of permanent unitary independent self. Emptiness of autonomous substantial reality or self. Emptiness of external reality. Emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic existence.
Mm-hmm.
Emptiness of intrinsic existence or independent existence or objective existence.
Okay, very nice. All right, next.
Ma'am, emptiness of permanent unitary independent self,
Mm-hmm.
emptiness of autonomous substantial reality or self,
Mm-hmm.
emptiness of external reality, emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic existence, emptiness of intrinsic existence, oblique independent existence, oblique objective existence.
Thank you. Very nice. Okay, next. Yes. Okay, next. Who else hasn't? Padma Nandula wanted, would you try?
I already tried, ma'am.
Okay, you've already tried. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Rajdeep. Who else is list? Rajdeep, Chandamala.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Ma'am, first
Emptiness.
one is emptiness of permanent unitary independent self,
Uh-huh.
then emptiness of autonomous substantial reality of self, then emptiness of
Okay, Rajdeep. It's emptiness of autonomous substantial reality slash
self.
not of self. It's either autonomous substantial reality or autonomous substantial self. Either of the two.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then emptiness of external reality
Mm-hmm.
and emptiness of true existence by not rejecting intrinsic existence,
Mm-hmm.
then emptiness of intrinsic existence, oblique independent existence or objective existence.
Very nice. Thank you. Okay.
Ma'am, these are emptiness of permanent unitary independent self,
Yes.
emptiness of autonomous substantial reality
Mm-hmm.
slash self,
Mm-hmm.
emptiness of external reality, emptiness of true existence while not rejecting intrinsic existence,
Mm-hmm.
and finally emptiness of intrinsic existence slash independent existence slash object existence.
Thank you. Very nice. Okay. Okay, Chandamala, last.
Yes, ma'am. Emptiness of permanent unitary independent self,
Mm-hmm.
emptiness of autonomous substantial reality slash self,
Mm-hmm.
emptiness of external reality,
Mm-hmm.
emptiness of true existing existence while not rejecting intrinsic existence,
Mm-hmm.
emptiness of intrinsic existence slash independent existence slash
Mm-hmm.
objective existence.
Okay, very nice. Thank you, all of you. Thank you for the effort. And so, why I asked you all to do this is I know you all have written them down, but what happens to not just you, to me as well, we write down and then we forget, right? So, this was just an exercise so that we at least lay an imprint in our minds. Okay. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to mention here is very important point. So these 5 levels of emptiness you will not find in any text. This is what this, so these 5 levels have been taught by my teacher, Geshe Damdullah, right? So Geshe-la, after many years of his studies and reflection, he came up with these 5 levels, right? So he often tells us in the class that don't, if you're discussing about these the 5 levels of emptiness, don't go to a teacher and say which is the third level, I forgot. So there's no concept of these 5 levels in any of the Buddhist texts, right? So these are picked up by Geshe-la after many years of his studies, so that our understanding, right, of these different levels of emptiness becomes easier for us. So make sure that you don't go asking a teacher, uh, you know, sir, which is the third level or first level, I forgot. So they will not have any clue these about these 5 levels, because this is not a standard way of putting them. So okay, so this is one thing, please bear in mind, right? Okay, so now why I mentioned these 5 levels is because going back to objects of the path, right? Objects of the path. Okay, Majid is back. Majid, you want to try?
Yes, ma'am. My battery went dead. Sorry.
Yeah.
The five levels of emptiness are the first is the emptiness of the permanent unitary independent self. The second one is the emptiness of the autonomous or substantial self or reality. The third one is the emptiness of the external reality. The fourth one is the emptiness of the true existence while not rejecting the intrinsic existence. And the fifth one is the emptiness of the intrinsic or independent or objective existence.
Very nice. He's done it
Thank,
without looking into the book.
thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
very nice. All right. So why we did these 5 levels is because we are doing the objects of the path. So what are the things that Chittamatra, according to Chittamatra school, what are the things they need to meditate on, right? So the 16 aspects of the Four Noble Truths, all schools will meditate on that, right? Apart from that, selflessness of person and selflessness of phenomena. These two are the other objects that Chittamatra would meditate on. Okay, so what is the selflessness of person? According to Chittamatra and other schools, other than Prasangika, there are 2: gross selflessness of person, subtle selflessness of person, right? So gross selflessness of person is the first level of emptiness, emptiness of permanent unitary independent self. That is the gross selflessness of person, according to the school, according to actually all schools other than Prasangika. And when they talk about the subtle selflessness of person, they talk about the second level, emptiness of the autonomous substantial reality, right? So this is the selflessness of person. Now going to selflessness of phenomena, which according to Chittamatra school is subtler than the selflessness of person. It's much subtler. So what is the selflessness of phenomena according to Chittamatra school? Anybody? Anyone would like to try? What is the selflessness of phenomena according to Chittamatra? Of the 5 levels, which one?
The emptiness of external reality.
Yes, very nice.
The third.
Yes, the third one. So for Chittamatra school, selflessness of phenomena is emptiness of external reality. So they say there's no external reality. They reject externality. So that becomes the selflessness of phenomena, right? Okay, so I have a question for you all. So what we studied earlier for lower schools, Vaibhashika and Swatantrika school, they don't talk about selflessness of phenomena, right? They don't talk about selflessness of phenomena. So how do you think they, so there are mental defilements, right? There are mental defilements pertaining to the misconception of phenomena. So how do they get rid of the defilements, mental defilements pertaining to phenomena? How do the lower schools get rid of the mental defilements? This is a very important question. because they don't
Very
accept.
good question. Very good question.
Yeah. So basically, I was expecting this question to come from you all, right?
Yeah, really. How they do that?
So basically, defilements pertaining to self, right? We talked about self and phenomena other than self. So we have this misconception or mental defilements pertaining to the self. How do I exist? You perceive yourself existing in a very defiled, let's say, mistaken way, right? And then you see the phenomena as well to exist in a very defiled, mistaken way. So there are mental defilements pertaining to self and pertaining to phenomena. So Vaibhashika and Swatantrika, they only talk about selflessness of person. They don't touch the selflessness of phenomena. They don't talk about the phenomena. So how do you think they get rid of this mental defilement pertaining to the selflessness of phenomena? Pertaining to phenomena, sorry. Misconception of phenomena. This is a very important question. In fact, this question should come up to you when I say that Chittamatra and onwards, other schools, higher schools, they talk about selflessness of phenomena as well as person. There are two. Whereas the lower schools, they don't talk about the phenomena. So how would lower schools then tackle this misconception of the phenomena, the mental defilements that comes about seeing the phenomena? Okay, so I'm going to give the answer, right? This is a very important thing. Okay, now let's say, okay, let me ask you the question. For Vaibhashika and Swatantrika, when they say selflessness of person A, let's say person A, right? What is that? Selflessness of person A, what is that according to Vaibhashika and Swatantrika? What do they reject? You can
Substantial reality. Substantial reality.
Autonomous substantial reality.
Autonomous substantial reality.
Okay, so for them, for the Vaibhashika and Swatantrika school, when they say selflessness of person A, they mean emptiness of autonomous substantial person A. Okay, do you all agree? Okay, now this person A, right? This person A, let's say, okay, let's say person A. Person A, okay, let's say me, Nilza, right? For me, this is the pen, which is the phenomena other than person, right? There are many, there are infinite phenomena other than the person, right? Okay, so how do you say it? So with this autonomous substantial Nilza looking at this pen, right? So I'm possessing this pen. This, okay, so this is this autonomous substantial Nilza perceiving this pen, interacting with this phenomena other than self, the pen, right? Okay. Okay, now the thing is, okay, let me just please note it down and then I'll explain the term. Okay, now here we're talking about the flower, okay, flower. The flower is empty of being the possession. The flower is empty of being the possession of the autonomous substantial person A. Is the, you can put a dash, this is the, so this is the selflessness of the person of the flower.
Ma'am, autonomous?
Can you repeat, please?
Okay. The flower is empty of being this, being the possession. The flower is empty of being the possession of the autonomous substantial person A. Is the selflessness of person of the flower. Have you all got the terms? I'll repeat, the flower is empty of being the possession of the autonomous substantial person A. This is the selflessness of the person of the flower. This becomes the selflessness of the person of the flower. Okay. Okay, so the example I gave, okay, so I say Nilza, right? According to this school, what is the ignorance? Ignorance is seeing this person to be autonomous, substantially reality or real, right? Okay, so if you remove the ignorance, then you get the wisdom. And the wisdom is this autonomous, substantial, real Nilza is empty of being autonomous, substantially real, right? So, okay. So autonomous, substantial reality is non-existent. It doesn't exist. But we see it to be existent. That is the ignorance. Do you all agree? Okay. So what is, okay, so anything that you interact with, any phenomena like this pen, I'm interacting with this pen, right? So I'm possessing this pen or the book or the table or my mug, so all these phenomena. So you're basically, okay, so the minute you realize the emptiness of the autonomous substantial self, anything that this autonomous substantial self possesses, they also become selfless. They also become empty. So here, okay, so Vaibhashika and Sautantrika school, they talk about selflessness of person of the flower. Selflessness of the person of the pen. Okay, you can jot it down. Selflessness of the person, that is the selflessness of the person. Then next to it, you can put of the flower, of the pen, of the book, of the mug, of the table, of any phenomena that you interact with. Right? So basically what they're trying to say is, as long as you realize this selflessness of the autonomous substantial real, anything that this autonomous substantial reality or the person interacts with or possesses, any phenomena, they also become non-existent. They not non-existent, sorry. They also basically, their quality or their being existent, that also just vanishes. It just so basically that's how they deal with the phenomena. So for them, the person who's interacting with all these phenomena, when you see the autonomous substantial real to be empty, that's how they deal with how the defilements that arise with seeing the phenomena. Because whatever this person is interacting with or possessing, for example, this pen, right? So surfaces of the person A possessing the of the pen, surfaces of the person A of the flower. That's how they reject the phenomena. That's how they deal with the mental defilements. Okay, this is a bit technical. Okay, would anyone like to try? Okay, let's say table. How would you say? According to Vaibhashika and Sautantrika, table as a phenomena. So how would you put it? The surfaces of person A of the table. Okay, so it looks like I wasn't. Uh-huh.
No, I didn't understand the question. That what do you want us
Okay, so I give
to?
an example of, let's say, a flower, right? So if you are to put surfaces of person A of the flower, so this is how the Vaibhashika and Sautantrika, they reject, so they get rid of the mental defilement, seeing the phenomena, right? So phenomena being let's say the flower, there's a flower. So the person is really attached to the flower, right? So if I'm really attached to the rose flower, so I'm that person, right? Person A, let's say person A. So when you realize the surfaces of this autonomous substantial person A, whatever this substantial autonomous substantial person A possesses, which is the rose flower, which is I'm so attracted to, right? So there's a mental defilement pertaining to the phenomena. So when I realize this autonomous substantial real person A to be selfless, it's actually empty of this autonomous substantial self, automatically even the flower, the defilement coming, that I have this mental defilement seeing the flower, that also gets you can get rid of it.
Yeah, also the attachment of the flower is not so strong anymore because you are not.
Yes, the person who possesses.
The person is okay.
Yes,
okay.
the person possessing all the phenomena, it's empty of autonomous substantial real. So whatever phenomena the person comes in contact with, they all become, all the mental defilements are gone. That's how they deal. That's how the lower schools deal with the phenomena. Okay, so this was just a little okay. Okay, going to the second point, which is objects to be abandoned by the path, right? Okay, these are technical, please bear with me, but this is very important. So when you talk about objects to be abandoned by the path, what do you exactly mean? So we mean, what we're trying to understand is, what are the things, defilements that we need to shun, right? So you're taking this path, you're on that path. So we said this is a mental journey, this is a mental path, right? So what are the things you need to meditate on, and what are the things you need to shun or get rid of? So what needs to be abandoned according to this school? Okay, so according to the other schools, is there anyone who remembers what are the objects to be abandoned by the, let's say, Sautantrika school? They're pretty much the same. Vaibhashika and Sautantrika, they talk about what? The two. Do you remember? Anyone? Okay. Afflictive ignorance and, okay, is there anyone who remembers?
And non-afflictive ignorance.
Yes.
Non-afflictive.
Very nice. Okay. Afflictive ignorance and non-afflictive ignorance, according to the lower schools, they want to get rid of it. They want to abandon, right? Okay. So what we mentioned earlier, so these afflictive ignorance and non-afflictive ignorance, these are terms used by lower schools. Whereas higher schools, Chittamatra and above, they talk about afflictive obscuration. Afflictive obscuration and cognitive obscuration. They have to get rid of these two, afflictive obscuration and cognitive obscuration. These are the objects to be abandoned by the path, according to Chittamatra school. It's same. Okay, so basically, Prasangika also talks about afflictive obscuration and cognitive obscuration. It's the same for both schools, Chittamatra and Prasangika. Okay, now let me explain what is this afflictive obscuration. Okay, afflictive obscuration in Tibetan, it's called nyondip, nyondip, nyondip. And cognitive obscuration, it's called shedip. Nyondip and shedip. Right? Okay, so what is this afflictive obscuration? Okay. Do you remember the two goals? Sorry, Beatrice, you were saying something?
No. Okay, continue.
Okay. Do you remember the two goals? What are the two goals?
Buddhahood and nirvana.
Very nice. Okay, the two goals are nirvana and Buddhahood, right? So nirvana is the goal of which practitioners? Which yana? Who are the ones seeking nirvana?
Shravakayana.
Shravakayana and
Pratyeka Buddhayana.
Pratika Buddhayana, yes. So,
Theravada Buddhism.
yes, roughly, yes. Roughly you can say Theravada tradition, they seek personal liberation. So those practitioners who seek personal liberation, right? They seek liberation for self, personal liberation. The goal is nirvana. What is nirvana? It's a state freed of suffering. There's no aging, sickness, death, right? So when you come out of that phase of aging, sickness, death, constant in the, okay, so when you get rid of all your afflictions, or when you get rid of the self-grasping ignorance, you attain nirvana. So you do not take birth in samsara again. There's no aging, sickness, death. So that is a state of nirvana. That is the goal, right? And which is the other goal? Buddhahood.
Bodhisattvahood.
Okay,
Liberation for others.
okay. So liberation not just for oneself, but for all other sentient beings. That is the state of Buddhahood. That is the goal of the Bodhisattvas, Bodhisattvayana,
Mahayana.
or the Mahayana, yes.
Great vehicle.
Okay, so afflictive obscuration is those mental defilements that stops us from achieving nirvana. So the mental defilements that stop us from achieving nirvana is called the afflictive obscuration. And those mental defilements that stop us from achieving Buddhahood is cognitive obscuration. This we need to keep in mind. Okay. Okay, those mental obscurations or those defilements, mental defilements that stop us from achieving nirvana is afflictive obscuration. And those mental defilements that stop us from achieving Buddhahood is cognitive obscuration. Yondip and Shedip. These are very important terms. Okay, so basically, if you remember non-afflictive obscuration, we did in the lower schools, remember? Pertaining to space, pertaining to time, pertaining to the multiplicity of phenomena, and pertaining to the subtle workings of the subtle karma. So these are the qualities of the Buddha which arhats do not have. So arhats are those who have attained nirvana. Technically speaking, the term arhat is used for those who have attained nirvana, state of nirvana. But arhats, like the stories that I mentioned earlier of Moglana, who wanted to go to another, let's say, another place in the universe where his mother took birth, right? And Moglana wanted to give teachings to his mother to repay his mother's kindness. But he could not trace the place where his mother took birth. And then Buddha was the one, Buddha being an omniscient one, Buddha told Moglana that this is where your mother has taken birth, right? So that is pertaining to space, pertaining to the distance. So arhats, they do not have the quality to trace a place in the universe. So they have limited power pertaining to the distance and time, right? So that is because they haven't gotten rid of this cognitive obscuration. But lower schools, they call it non-afflictive ignorance. The terminologies differ, otherwise it's more or less the same. But in higher schools, from Chittamatra onwards, they call it cognitive obscuration. Okay, so technically speaking, what are those?
So cognitive obscurations are the non-afflictive ignorance. It's the same. Different terms, but the same meaning. Okay.
Yes, they use different terminologies.
Okay.
Okay, so afflictive obscuration, there are 4 points under it. Okay, so before that, let's go back to, okay, so we have done in one of the slides that I shared, the PowerPoint I shared in the group. So one of the slide we did, which was picked up from, which was a phrase or which was a stanza picked up from Mula Madhyamika Karika by Arya Nagarjuna, right? Ceasing of karma and afflictions lead to nirvana. Do you all remember? We picked up 5 points. And okay, so the relationship between these 5 points. So what is the first? Suffering. Suffering is what we are experiencing right now, right? Suffering of sickness, suffering of birth, aging, sickness, death, right? We have the suffering. What is the immediate cause of the suffering? Okay, let me see if I can share it again here. Anybody who remembers those 5? Is there anyone who remembers? Okay, the immediate cause of suffering is contaminated karma, right?
It starts with self-grasping ignorance.
Okay, so we are going the opposite direction.
Okay.
Okay, so the immediate cause, the first is suffering.
Contaminated karma.
Okay, so suffering, what is the immediate cause of the suffering? Okay, I'll share this screen. Let me share the screen. Okay, so this is another very important point or stanza for you all to remember. Okay, so I hope it's okay. Do you all see this? It's picked up from Mula Madhyamika Karika by Arya Nagarjuna. So it's from the chapter 18, Examination of Self and Phenomena. Okay, now you can relate it to what we did. Self-thesis of phenomena, self-thesis of person, right? Person or self is same. So in this chapter 18 of Mula Madhyamika Karika by Arya Nagarjuna, he's examining the self and the phenomena. This whole chapter is on the self and phenomena, right? So one of the verse 5 of this chapter, it says ceasing of karmas and afflictions lead to nirvana. So nirvana is okay. So we have afflictions and we have contaminated karma, which is why we are in the state of samsara. Opposite of nirvana is samsara. Samsara means suffering, right? So we are in the state of suffering. Why? Because of the contaminated karmas and afflictions. Karmas and afflictions, they arise from conceptual thought. These arise from mental elaborations grasping at true existence. Elaboration ceases by or into emptiness. So this is a very important stanza which His Holiness the Dalai Lama often talks about. It gives teachings on. He, in most of his teachings, he picks up this stanza, right? Because this stanza is very concise. Okay, so the whole explanation, we have to pick up these 5 points here. So we are in the state of suffering here. The immediate cause of suffering is the contaminated karma, right? Contaminated karma, what is the immediate cause of the contaminated karma? The afflictions. And what is the cause of afflictions? Inappropriate attention. And what is the immediate cause of inappropriate attention? That is the self-grasping ignorance. Okay. So this I have shared in the group. In the group, I've shared a PowerPoint which has many slides. And this is, I think, the second or the third slide. So you can go back and revisit, right? But keep in mind these 5 points: suffering, contaminated karma, afflictions, inappropriate attention, self-grasping ignorance. These are the 5 important points. Okay, so afflictive obscuration. Afflictive obscuration, it comprises of these 4: contaminated karma, afflictions, inappropriate attention, self-grasping ignorance. So here, when we talk about afflictive obscuration, the self-grasping ignorance, right? It is the ignorance seeing the self to be autonomous, substantial, real. So here, under afflictive obscuration, there are 4 points. What does afflictive obscuration comprise of? It comprises of the contaminated karma, afflictions, inappropriate attention, and the self-grasping ignorance. So this self-grasping ignorance is the self seeing the self to be autonomous, substantial, real. According to, we are talking about Chittamatra school. So according to Chittamatra school, Afflictive obscuration comprises of contaminated garments, afflictions, inappropriate attention, and the self-grasping ignorance, viewing the self to be autonomous, substantial, real. Okay, so what is the cognitive obscuration according to Chittamatra school? Anybody? Okay, so this is very specific to Chittamatra school. Cognitive obscuration according to Chittamatra school is the ignorance viewing things to be externally real or external reality. So the ignorance seeing things to exist externally, this is the cognitive obscuration according to Chittamatra school.
Ma'am, can you repeat cognitive obscuration again?
Okay, so cognitive obscuration according to Chittamatra school is the ignorance viewing things to exist externally. Okay, sorry, Yusufla, you raised a hand.
By mistake.
Okay, by mistake. Okay, no problem. Okay, so if you remember the dream analogy, right? So in your dream, you see things to be outside your mind. You see duality. So that is the ignorance. So according to Chittamatra school, this is the cognitive obscuration. Okay, so do you remember selflessness of phenomena according to Chittamatra school? What did you just write a little while ago? Selflessness of person and selflessness of phenomena, right? So selflessness of phenomena is emptiness of external reality. So you have to apply this wisdom of emptiness of external reality to get rid of the cognitive obscuration, according to Chittamatra school. And then once you get rid of this cognitive obscuration, then you attain Buddhahood, according to the school, right? Okay, so for bodhisattvas, their goal is Buddhahood, right? So for bodhisattvas, their aim is to get rid of this cognitive obscuration, according to Chittamatra followers. So if I am a Chittamatra philosophy follower, right, and I'm also a practitioner of the bodhisattva path, let's say, I'm not yet at that stage, but let's just assume, right? So there, somebody who aspires for Buddhahood is on the bodhisattva path, they have to get rid of this cognitive obscuration. Whereas if I'm a Shravakayana practitioner or a Pratyeka Buddha practitioner, I don't have to deal. I may apply the Chittamatra philosophy, but I may not deal with the cognitive obscuration because my goal is self-liberation. Do you all get it? So yanas, the different vehicles, Pratyeka Buddha yana, Shravaka yana, Bodhisattva yana, that is one thing pertaining to your motivation. What is your motivation? You want self-liberation or you want liberation for oneself and all others, right? And the philosophy is again different. You can apply different philosophies. Okay, so nature of the path, basically, okay, so 10 bodhisattva grounds. So when we talk about the nature of the path, we talk about the 5 paths. Okay, now again, let me ask anybody, what are the 5 paths? Gate, Paragate, Parasamgate, Bodhi, Swaha. These 5 paths. We have been doing it many times. Okay, the nature of the path, right? Gate gate paragate parasam gate bodhi swaha. Can anyone tell me what are the 5 paths? Path of?
May I, ma'am?
Yes.
Path of accumulation, path
Mm-hmm.
of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, and path of no more learning.
Very nice. The 5 paths, right? Okay. So now Chittamatra school is a Mahayana philosophy, right? So they talk about the 10 bodhisattva grounds. Whereas in Shravakayana and Pratika Buddhayana path vehicle, they do not talk about the bodhisattva grounds because they don't have this practice of bodhicit, right? Only bodhisattvas, they have to go through these 10 grounds, 10 perfections. So according to this school, at path of seeing, when you reach the path of seeing, okay, first path is path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, path of no more learning. So between the third and the fourth path, between path of seeing and path of meditation, they talk about this 10 bodhisattva grounds. Between the third and the fourth path, they talk about the 10 bodhisattva grounds between that. So they also have the concept of the 10 bodhisattva grounds. Okay,
Ma'am,
so
is it Dashabhumi?
yes, Dashabhumi.
Okay, Shantarakshi, he wrote a book,
Okay.
Dashabhumika Sutra.
Okay, Acharya Shantarakshita.
Acharya Shantarakshita.
Right. Okay, Acharya Shantarakshita is the first Nalanda scholar along with Guru Padma Sambhava. They were both Nalanda scholars who first went to Tibet to teach Buddhism, who first took the Nalanda wisdom to Tibet, Acharya Shantarakshita and Guru Padma Sambhava. Exceptionally great scholar, logician. Okay. Okay, so I think in the next class on Wednesday, we will finish Chittamatra's school. We are just left with the result, right? So we are done with the assertion on the path. Now we'll finish assertion on the result in the next class, and then we'll start Madhyamika school. The 2 schools, Swatantra Madhyamika and Prasangika Madhyamika. And hopefully before 26th of December, hopefully we finish this course. Actually, so I would be taking one class where I would like to share about meditation, right? Just the basics of meditation. And that's something I would like to share before we end the course. Okay, so any questions before we disperse? Okay, I know the classes are very technical, right? And but so
Ma'am, not question, but I want to share something.
yes, please.
My daughter is of 4 years old, and 2 days back, she started to recite the Gate Gate Paragate, the 5 stages. She can,
Wow.
and every night before sleeping, she started doing that.
Did you teach her?
Just said once, and both the daughter, but the younger is too little. She is only
Okay.
4.
Hmm. Wow,
Day before
interesting.
yesterday, her birthday.
Hmm.
Only 4, but she can. Now also she can.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's the power of the mother, I think.
I can ask her to recite. May I?
Yes, yes, please.
এই বাবু বাবু একবার
Yes,
ফোনটা বন্ধ কর, বুনু একবার শোনাবে। ওই বাবু গাতে গাতেটা বলে দাও একবার। বলে দাও বাবু, বলো বলো না, বলো।
wow. Oh, so sweet.
গাতে গাতে পাড়া চমকাতে বদিস।
Wow.
That's it, ma'am.
That's wonderful.
Amazing.
That's
That's
wonderful.
amazing.
Thank you so much, Sangamitra ji.
Wonderful.
Thank you,
Yeah.
ma'am. Thank you.
She just woke us up,
Yeah,
woke us,
congratulations.
all of us, from all
Both
these.
the daughter, they are doing the same, but the younger is so.
We all truly rejoice that at such a young age she's learning. She may not know the meaning, but now that you are there, you can start teaching her the meaning as well as she's growing up.
But my elder daughter is now tell the meaning also. Means
Okay.
go beyond, go even beyond that.
Wow, that's
Liberation.
wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you,
Okay.
Sangamitra ji. Thank you.
Thank you,
That was
ma'am.
very
All of
sweet.
you.
That can
Thanks
be
goes to you.
can be also karmic connections, no, from past life or not? It can be karmic connections.
Of course.
I
Of
think,
course.
no?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Very
That's
strong.
very interesting.
Very
Yeah.
strong imprints.
Yeah, they also do the
Yeah.
Om Mani Padme Hum and etc.
Ah,
That's very nice. Thank you, Sangamitra ji.
Thank you all of you.
Okay. So I'll see you all on Wednesday then, same time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
oh,
ma'am.
thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Tashidelek, thank you.
Tashidelek, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Have a nice day.